I've been listening to Oprah Winfrey's new audiobook about how trauma affects people in the deepest of ways. It's called What Happened to You. It's a fantastic book which has made me really think about how when you are a child, the way that the world interacts with you changes the way that you behave as an adult. And I always found that so fascinating, so weird, that things that happen to you, the way that you were loved before the time that you can even remember, affects who you are today. So in this video, we're going to look at some pretty incredible footage. The first is going to be of the still face experiment, where we're going to show how even babies are incredibly receptive to social cues. And the second video will be of an experiment from the 60s where they're just observing children playing, and you'll see children from privileged, supportive and stable homes, and unfortunately there'll be children from unstable homes, and you'll see how there is a significant difference in how they interact with the world. But before we begin, I just thought I'd introduce myself. My name is Dr. Sil. I'm a junior doctor working in Sydney, Australia. I'm interested in mental health. I make videos in my free time about mental health, medicine, medical school and life as a doctor. If you enjoy this kind of content, you can support the channel by leaving a comment down below. From which country are you watching this from? I really want to one day have a viewer from every country in the world. I just think that would be so cool. And you can also consider subscribing and liking and all that stuff. All right, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, now let's have a look at Dr. Edward Tronick's still face experiment. Dr. Tronick is, or was, the head of the Child's Research Unit or something at Harvard University, and this is a fascinating experiment that he'll explain to you guys, and you'll see just how receptive babies are to social cues. Let's check it out.
In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age.
I'm like a girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this, and then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, come on, why aren't we doing this? Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it, they actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh,
now the baby's happy. Okay, we got to give it to the mum for being able to hold such a kind of poker face while your child is obviously like a bit distressed and trying to get your attention. That's really impressive. But I just find that really fascinating footage. You can imagine that if you come from a household where you don't have that kind of social reciprocity and love, that it'll change the way that even as a baby or a child you interact with the world. And that's what I want us to watch now.
Emmanuel, élevé dans sa famille, est avide de saisir tout objet nouveau en vue d'une exploration active. Le passer d'une main à l'autre, le porter à la bouche, par exemple.
What a cute baby. I'm getting a bit clucky.
Totalement absorbé par ces manipulations, l'enfant prête peu d'attention à son entourage.
So I think That's a really good point. When you are when a baby comes from a stable, loving home, and they have a sense of security about the world, they don't need to be anxious and worried that danger can come from at any time, and that lets them have this kind of focused attention on play. And yes, obviously they're going to look around because we're curious creatures, and that's just part of us, kind of our being in scanning the room. But they're not doing it in a sense that they're worried about a threat imminently.
Christine, régulièrement confiée à une crèche de jour, ne semble pas présenter un comportement différent de celui de l'enfant précédent. Elle saisit les cubes des deux mains.
Whoa! I doubt she did that. That's... yeah.
Essaie de les superposer.
That's actually a way we measure child development, how high they can stack.
Les récupère quand ils tombent. Elle aussi est tout absorbée par son jeu. Ces deux exemples nous ont montré le cas d'enfants dont les conditions familiales offrent toute sécurité. Par contre, lorsque ces conditions sont défavorables, au point de nécessiter un retrait et une hospitalisation, le comportement du nourrisson va s'en ressentir, ainsi qu'en témoigneront les séquences suivantes. Caroline, dont la mère s'est médiocrement souciée, est anorexique. Cet enfant porte bien la main à un cube, mais en fait elle s'y intéresse faiblement. Très souvent,
Just as a quick point, when you use the term anorexic in this context, as medical jargon, it means loss of appetite. Whereas in everyday usage, you might say, oh, he's anorexic or she's anorexic, and what you're implying is that they have, a disorder called anorexia nervosa. Medically, if someone is anorexic, it means they've had a loss of appetite, which is just different to anorexia nervosa. This is a symptom. Anorexia nervosa is a disorder.
elle jette un regard interrogateur autour d'elle. Son exploration reste active, mais elle semble surtout préoccupée par son entourage. Dans les cas qui vont suivre, le souci croissant de l'environnement et l'inquiétude décuplée auront pour corrélatif un amoindrissement de l'attention.
She doesn't look too unhappy, but she's definitely looking around and engaging less with the play as compared to the previous children.
Prêtée au jeu. Par exemple, Véronique, également anorexique, manifeste son refus en écartant ses mains d'un geste d'évitement.
Wow, yeah. She's got her hands up. She's looking at the experiment and not at the toys. She does not look at peace. And obviously there's a huge variability in temperament in children, and it's not because that this child isn't playing with toys that you could diagnose her with anything in particular. That's not what this video is about. So you can see pretty clearly how those children interact differently with play based on their backgrounds and where they come from. And when you think about what play is, it's fundamentally important in development. Play is how a child learns and explores the world. So these, the things that happen to a baby and a child change who they are later in life significantly. And it'll affect their temperament, whether they're neurotic or not, and it increases their risks of so many different mental illnesses. And that's because there's actually physical changes in the brains of people who are exposed to childhood adversity, whether it's abuse or neglect. The brains are actually structured differently because of the thing called neuroplasticity and the fact that different pathways are reinforced. So these people, a lot of the time, their state of arousal, their baseline kind of homeostatic state is different to those who are from stable homes. And if you feel like you come from a background of childhood adversity where you might have been exposed to abuse or neglect, then there's so much you can do now to help. And if you feel like you have a mental health problem, you can talk to your GP or a therapist, and they can help you address these issues and help you become who you want to become, essentially. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. I know I found it particularly interesting, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.